Grace and peace be multiplied unto you. I welcome you to today's lesson in maths on the topic Algebra and on the subtopic Factorization. So this is a continuation on the lessons we've been taking in Algebra so far. And the lesson for this topic, the objective for this topic is that at the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify common factors. You should be able to factorize you should be able to factorize algebraic expression using the method of grouping. You should be able to factorize quadratic trinomial in the form of x squared plus bx plus c, and you should be able to factorize quadratic trinomial in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So let's look at what factorization is. When each of the terms of an expression is divisible by a common factor, the expression may be simplified by dividing each term separately by this factor. This process of putting an expression in brackets is called factorization. So for example, 4a plus 4b, the common factor there is 4. So factorization, like we said, is the process of putting an expression in brackets. So 4 comes out and the rest stays inside, plus b. So what you realize that when you multiply the 4 by 4a and you multiply the 4 by 4b, you go back to the original expression. Let's look at example 2. 6x squared minus 10x. So here 2x can go here, 2x can also go into this. So 2x actually stays outside, and then so 2x times what will give you 6x squared? That will be 3x. So minus 2x times what will give you 10x, and that will be 5. 2x times 5 will give you 10x. So this will be your factorized answer. So let's look at common factors. So common factors actually is a way of actually finding out the factors that are common to all the terms in the expression. Let's look at example 1. You have 3a you have 3a plus 3ax plus 6ay. Now you realize that 3a is a common factor because 3a can go into itself, 3a, and 3a can go into 6a. So what we have here is 3a comes outside, and then what is left stays inside. So when 3a goes outside, we will be having x, and then we will have 2y. So that is what we have here. It has been factorized directly. So you realize that when you expand this, you are going to go get this. Also, let's look at example 2. X cubed minus x squared y. So the common factor here is x squared. So you can find x squared here, you can find x squared here. So x squared stays outside, and then what is left is 1x, because x cubed is actually equal to x times x. When you take the 2 outside, it will be left with 1. Okay, and that is why we have x inside, and then when the x squared is also taken outside, it will be left with y, and that gives us our answer. So let's look at the third example, 54 minus 81x. Now this one, you can realize that 9 can go into 54, 9 can go into 81. Okay, 9 can go into 54, 9 can go into 21. What about, and then also 27 can also go into 54, and can also go into 81. But look at this one critically. You realize that it has not been fully factorized because 9 is outside, but then you realize that 3 can go into 6, 3 can go into 9. Okay, so even though it has been partially factorized with 9 outside, you can go ahead and factorize what is inside. Now 3, so we have 9 standing outside, but then we want to factorize this, and when you factorize this, the common factor is 3, so 3 comes out, and then we have 2 minus 3x. Okay, but because this 3 is outside, it multiplies the 9, and then you get 27. So for this, the correct answer will be 27 into brackets 2 minus 3x, because when you multiply this, you get 54. And when you multiply 27 by 3x, you get 81x, and then you get your original answer or question. So let's look at 100x minus 25x squared. You realize that 25x can go here, 25x can also go here. So when 25 goes here, you are going to get 4. So let's put 25x outside. We'll be having 4, and then 25x will go into x squared. It will be left with just a single x. Okay, and that is what we have here. Remember that when you are factorizing, it simply means you are dividing each term by the common factor. So for example, what we have here, 24, 25. When you realize that the common factor is 25, simply 100x over 25x, and what will happen? X will cancel x, 25 will cancel 100, and then you get what? 4. Okay, and then 25x squared over 25, what will happen? 25 will go here 1, sorry, this is x. 25 will go here 1, 25 will go here 1, x will go here 1, x will go here 1, so it will actually be left with 1x right here, and that is why we have 4 minus x. So that's why we have the 4 minus x with the common term 25x outside. So when you multiply this, you are going to get back to this. Let's look at the method of grouping. So the method of grouping is an expression may be resolved into factors if the terms can be arranged in groups which have common compound factors. Such expressions usually have 4 terms. So when it comes to the method of groupings, you are usually looking at the elements with 4 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you are actually supposed to group them according to like terms, elements that have similar elements in them. So when you look at x squared minus ax plus bx minus ab, you realize that here x is common and here b's are common, so you group them according to such. So x squared minus ax, that's the first group, and then bx minus ab is the second group. So like the rule for common factors, you just bring out the common factor, and the common factor in this is x, so x stays outside, and then we have x minus a standing or leaving that in the bracket. And then when you look at this, the common factor is b, so b comes out, and then leaving x minus a. But you realize that when you look at this, the expressions in the brackets are similar. Okay, so you pick one of them, which is what we have here, and then you pick the x plus the b outside, and then you write it also in another bracket and multiply them together, and then you have totally factorized the expression. So when you actually expand this binomial, you are going to get this. Let's look at another example. We have 3a plus 2ab minus 12 minus 8bc. So you can again group them. You can group them and then group this side. Okay, but you should be very observant, because when you see 2 negative, it means that the negative can actually come out, and then what will be inside the brackets will be positive numbers. This is because negative times any number will change the number to negative. So look at this question critically. You realize that after grouping this, for the second grouping, what happened was that the negative stayed out, and then there was a positive inside. So let's look at it. Let's take it critically. So for this one, the first group was 3a squared and then 2ab. So what is the common factor? The common factor is a, and then it will be left with 3a plus 2b, which is in the brackets. And then the second one, the second group, which is negative 12ac and then negative 8bc. So when you look at these two, you realize that the common factor here will be 4ac, because 4 can actually go into, will be 4c, because 4c can go into 12ac, negative 12ac, and then the common factor will be negative 4c. So negative 4c can actually go into negative 12ac, and negative 4c can actually go into negative bc. So that is what we have. And so the aim of it all is that you need to ensure that the two brackets of the various terms are the same, and then make sure that you bring this, you combine this and that to form another term and multiply them together like we have here. Okay, let's look at the third example. So we have 2ap plus aq minus bq minus 2bq. So you can also group the terms this way and group the terms this way. So when you look at it, for the first one, so I think those are, so for the first one, realize that a is the only thing, a is the only common factor here. So a is actually supposed to stand out, so ignore the 2 here. A is supposed to be the only value out. A is supposed to be the only value out, and then the 2 is supposed to stay with the p. Okay, the 2 is supposed to stay with the p, so the right one will be 2p plus q. Okay, and then we have minus b. So for this one, b is the common factor, so negative b comes out. Negative b is a common factor, so negative b comes out, and then we have q plus p. Okay, I think there was a typo. Actually, this is not supposed to be here. The 2, ignore the 2. Okay, let's cancel the 2 in front here. So let's ignore the 2 here. Now, so when you factorize, you realize that the common term is a, and then you have p plus q. Okay, and then when you factorize the other one, the common term is negative b, and then you have Q plus P. Okay, so we have the same things in the bracket, and then you can actually now bring them together. So a minus b into bracket, and then you pick any one of them, P plus Q, and then when you multiply them, you are going to get this. So if when you're using the method of grouping, when you want to confirm whether what you have factorized is correct, you should then expand it and check whether it tallies with the original question. Let's look at quadratic trinomials of the form x squared plus bx plus c. So a trinomial is an expression containing three terms. Any expression of the form x squared plus bx plus c, where b and c are constants and not equal to 0, is a quadratic trinomial. So this is how a quadratic trinomial looks like. This is a typical example. So it has x squared to start, and then it has a coefficient with an x, which is, so in this case it's a -3, and then it has a constant here, which is 2. So if you want to factorize a quadratic trinomial, first and foremost you have to find the factors of the constant c. You have to find the factors of this, which is the same as finding the factors of 2, which when you add gives us the coefficient of -3. So let's take it slowly. You find the factors of 2. So what's the factors of 2? The factors of 2, we have 1, we have 2, we have -1, we have -2. Okay, so now you choose 2 of the factors of 2 that when you add you are going to get -3. Okay, and then the 2 of the factors which when you add you are going to get -3 is -1 and -2, because when you add -1 and -2 you're actually going to get -3, because when you borrow 1 and then you borrow another 2 you are going to get -3, and then -1 times -2 is equal to +3. Okay, so then the factors we have are -1 and -2. Okay, so let's look at example. So after that, what you do is you replace the coefficients of x by the factors you obtained. So you replace it with the factors you obtained. For example, in this case it will be -1 minus -2, and then the x will be there. Okay, so let's look at an example. So let's factorize this question: x minus 3x plus 2. So first and foremost we are going to take this number and look for the factors that when you add you are going to get -3, and then we know that -1 times -2 is equal to -3. So the factors are -1 and -2. Okay, so the factors that when you add you are going to get, you have -1 and -2. So when you add -1 and -2 you are actually going to get -3. So because -3 is the same as -1 plus -2, you are going to replace the -3 here. You are going to replace the -3 here by this. Okay, so this is what you'll be having now. You'll be having x plus -1 minus -2, x plus 2. Okay, and then you would expand this one, x multiply this, x multiply that. So that's how come we have x minus x squared minus x minus 2x plus x. So So when you get to this stage, you remember our formula of grouping, our grouping method. So you bring the common term out, which is x, and then what stays out to be x minus 1. On the other side, you bring negative 2 out, and then what stays on the other side would be x minus 1. Okay, and so because x minus 1, you only pick one, and then you take x and then minus 2 as 1, and then multiply them together to get your answer, your factorized form. Let's look at another example. So when you have x squared minus 3x plus 2, what are you going to take? You are going to take the constant and look for factors that when you add, okay, sorry, let's this is what I was looking for. So we are solving another example, x squared plus 5x plus 6. So when you take this, the constant 6, you are looking for factors of 6 that when you add, you are going to get 5. You are going to get a coefficient of x, which is 5. So what are those factors? It's 2 and 3. When you add 2 plus 3, you get 5. So this is what you use to replace the 5 here. So that's how come we have x squared plus, and then 3 plus 2, because we replace the 3 plus 2 with the 5, and then times x plus 6. Okay, and then you expand, so x multiplied 3x, x multiplied 2x, and that is how come we have x squared plus 3x plus 2x plus 6. And then you use your method of grouping to group them, and so you have here x stands outside, and then we have another x inside plus 3, and then for this one 2 comes outside, and then we have x plus 3, because 2 can actually go into itself once, and 2 can go here 3. Okay, so then you realize that we have x plus 3, x plus 3, so you pick one, which you write here, and then you take the x and then the plus 2 as one group, so you multiply them together and you have your answer. So this is how to do a quadratic this is how to factorize the quadratic equation. Lastly, let's look at how to factorize a quadratic trinomial where there is a constant in front of the ax squared. So with this, it's also quite simple, but what you have to do is, in the beginning, in the first one, I said you would find the factors of c, but this time around there is a value here. So what you do is, you multiply this, you multiply a and c, and then you find the factors of a and c that when you add, you are going to get b. Okay, so you find the factors of a and c that when you add, you are going to get b, and then when you find that two factors, you replace them with b, and then you use your method of grouping to find them. So let's look at an example. So when we have 2x squared minus 3x plus 1, you realize that now in the previous one it was just x, but now there is 2 here. So what you do is that you multiply this by the coefficient 2 here, and so you have 2 times 1. And what is 2 times 1? It's simply 2. So you are going to find the factors of 2 that when you add, you are going to get negative 3. And what are those factors? In the previous lesson we saw it was negative 1 and negative 2. So when you add negative 1 and negative 2, you are going to get negative 3. So you are going to replace this negative 3 with negative 1 plus negative 2. And negative 1 plus negative 2 is the same as negative 1 minus or minus 2, or negative 1 negative 2. They are the same because the plus will be ignored. So here, like I said, factors of 2 by 1, we have 3, and then when you add negative 1 and negative 2, you get negative 3. So hence you have negative 1 minus 2. So you replace them with here this side, and then you expand. So after expanding, using your method of grouping, when you have 2x minus x and minus 2x plus 1, you can simply remove one of the x here, okay, and then you have 2x minus 1. And for this side, because the factor is just the same, all you do is that you take negative 1 out, and then you have 2x minus 1 inside. Okay, so the moment you take negative 1 out, this side ceases to be negative and this side turns into be negative. So this side becomes positive and this side becomes negative, and that is why we have the negative 1 outside, and then the positive sign changes to negative. So we have, because x minus 1 is the same, 2x minus 1 and 2x minus 1 is the same, we only pick one, and then we take the x and then the minus 1, we put them together and multiply them together, and we have our answer. So let's look at the last example. And then, so when you take this one, we have 3 here, we have 3x plus 3x squared minus 2x minus 5. Now, because there's a number here, we are going to multiply these two numbers, 5 times 3, and 5 times 3 is what? 15. So you are going to look for, so 15, we'll be looking for the factors of 15 that when you add them, you are going to get what? Sorry, we have 3 and negative 5. Don't forget, there is a negative sign here, so negative 5 times 3, which is negative 15. Negative 15. So we are looking for factors of negative 15 that when you add, you're actually going to get what? Negative 2. This side, you're actually going to get negative 2. And so negative 15, factors of negative 15, 3 times 5 is 15. So in order to get negative 2, then the higher number should be a negative. So negative 5 times 3, you get negative 15. So when you add them, you are going to get negative 2. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. So you are going to replace the negative 2 with 3 minus 5, or negative 5 plus 3 is the same. So 3x minus, into brackets, negative 5 plus 3, and then x minus 5. So x multiplies negative 5, x multiplies 3, and then what do we have? We have 3x, we have plus 3x squared plus 5x, because negative times negative is positive, so plus 5x minus 3x, and then minus 5x. So with your method of grouping, you have x comes out, and then you have 3x plus 5, and this one negative 1 stays out, and you have 3x plus 5. So with that, you realize that 3x plus 5 stands out. You pick one, then you take x and then minus x, and then you multiply them together to get your final answer. So this actually looks a bit technical, but take your time and then go through it. Watch the video about 2 to 3 times to understand critically what I said, and then take your textbook and also go through and use, with the aid of this video, I've given some questions and I hope that you'll be able to solve them. So until our next lesson, stay safe. Bye bye.